Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. The old pickup truck rattled down the dusty country road, kicking up clouds of reddish dirt in its wake. Trees and farmland whizzed by in a blur of greens and golds under the bright summer sun. In the passenger seat, Jake fidgeted nervously with the frayed edges of his t-shirt, his stomach churning with a mix of excitement and anxiety. At 20 years old, he was finally getting away from the city for the summer, escaping to his aunt's farm in rural Oakville. Jake had always been on the smaller side, barely topping 5'4" inches with a slender build that made him self-conscious around other guys his age. But out here, he hoped things would be different. A chance to reinvent himself, to find out who he really was away from the judging eyes of his peers back home. The truck lurched to a stop in front of a sprawling farmhouse, its white paint peeling in places to reveal weathered wood underneath. Jake's Aunt Sarah burst out the screen door, wiping flour-covered hands on a checkered apron as she hurried over to greet them. "There's my favorite nephew!" she exclaimed, wrapping Jake in a tight hug that smelled of cinnamon and apples. "My goodness, look how you've grown, though I swear you're even prettier than the last time I saw you." Jake felt his cheeks flush at the comment as he extricated himself from her embrace. "Thanks, Aunt Sarah. It's great to see you too." His cousins, Lily and Emma, 18 and 16 respectively, poked their heads out the door to see what all the commotion was about. Lily let out a squeal of delight and came bounding over. "Jakey, you're here!" She wrapped him in another hug, lifting his smaller frame clear off the ground. "Ooh, you're so light, just like picking up one of my girlfriends." Jake laughed nervously as she set him back down. "Hey, Lily, Emma?" He gave a small wave to his younger cousin, who was regarding him with open curiosity. "Wow, Jake, are you sure you're really 20? Emma asked, circling around him with a critical eye. "You look more like you could be one of my classmates, and your eyelashes are so long. I'm totally jealous." Jake felt his face burning even hotter as he stammered out a response. Yeah. Guess I'm just a late bloomer or something." Aunt Sarah clucked her tongue and shooed the girls away. Now, stop teasing your cousin. Jake's perfect just the way he is. Now let's get you settled in. I'm sure you're exhausted from that long drive." As Jake followed his aunt into the house, lugging his suitcase behind him, he couldn't shake the feeling that this summer was going to be very different from what he'd imagined. The next morning, Jake awoke to sunlight streaming through gingham curtains and the smell of bacon wafting up from the kitchen below. He stumbled downstairs, still groggy and half asleep, to find his cousins already seated at the table, devouring heaping plates of pancakes. "Well, good morning, sleepyhead," Aunt Sarah greeted him cheerfully. "I was starting to think you'd sleep the day away. Have a seat and I'll fix you up a plate." Jake slid into an empty chair, acutely aware of Lily and Emma's eyes on him. "Nice bedhead," Lily snickered. "Your hair's gotten so long, it's practically as long as mine now." Jake ran a self-conscious hand through his shaggy brown locks. He'd been meaning to get a haircut before the trip, but hadn't found the time. "You know," Emma piped up, a mischievous glint in her eye, "we could totally style it for you. Give you a makeover." "Ooh, yes," Lily clapped her hands excitedly. "It would be just like having another sister." Jake nearly choked on his orange juice. That's okay, I don't really—" "Oh, come on, it'll be fun," Emma insisted. "We can do your hair and nails, maybe even let you try on some of our clothes. You're so tiny, I bet they'd fit perfectly." Before Jake could protest further, Aunt Sarah set a loaded plate in front of him. "That sounds like a wonderful idea, girls. Jake, you should let your cousins pamper you a bit. When in Rome, right?" She gave him an encouraging wink. Jake opened his mouth to object, but found himself at a loss for words. He'd come here hoping to fit in, to find a sense of belonging. And his family seemed so excited about the idea. Maybe it wouldn't hurt to play along, just for a little while. "I guess that could be fun," he said hesitantly, immediately regretting the words as soon as they left his mouth. Lily and Emma let out matching squeals of delight. "This is going to be amazing!" Lily gushed. "Just wait till you see what we have planned." After breakfast, the girls wasted no time dragging Jake upstairs to Emma's room. They sat him down in front of a vanity mirror, its surface cluttered with an array of makeup and hair accessories that made Jake's head spin. "Okay, first things first, we need to tame this mane," Lily declared, running her fingers through Jake's messy hair. "Emma, grab the detangler and a brush. This might take a while." Jake winced as they worked through the knots, tugging none too gently. He caught glimpses of himself in the mirror as they styled his hair, watching with a mix of fascination and trepidation as his appearance slowly transformed. "There!" Emma announced triumphantly after what felt like hours. "What do you think?" Jake stared at his reflection, barely recognizing the person looking back at him. His hair had been tamed into soft waves that framed his face, accentuating his delicate features. A light dusting of shimmer on his eyelids made his hazel eyes seem bigger and brighter. Wow, he breathed, unable to tear his gaze away. Something stirred deep in his chest, a warmth he couldn't quite identify. "You look gorgeous," Lily squealed. "But we're not done yet. Now for the clothes." Before Jake could object, the girls were rifling through Emma's closet, tossing sundresses and skirts onto the bed. "Here, try this on," Emma insisted, thrusting a pale blue dress into his hands. "The bathroom's right across the hall if you want privacy." Jake hesitated, his heart racing. This was going too far, wasn't it? But the expectant looks on his cousins' faces made him falter. He didn't want to disappoint them, to be the boring city boy who couldn't take a joke. "All right," he said quietly, retreating to the bathroom with the dress clutched to his chest. His hands shook as he stripped off his t-shirt and jeans. The dress slipped over his head in a whisper of cool fabric, settling against his skin like a caress. Jake smoothed it down with trembling fingers, scarcely daring to look in the mirror. When he finally gathered the courage to face his reflection, his breath caught in his throat. The dress hugged his slender frame perfectly, the skirt swishing around his knees. Combined with his styled hair and subtle makeup, the effect was stunning. A knock at the door made him jump. "You okay in there?" Lily called. "Let's see how it looks." Taking a deep breath, Jake opened the door. His cousin's jaws dropped in unison. "Oh my God," Emma breathed. "Jake, you look amazing." Lily circled around him, eyeing him critically. "Seriously, if I didn't know better, I'd swear you were a girl. You're prettier than half the girls in town." Jake felt his face flush hot with embarrassment, and something else, a thrill of excitement he couldn't quite explain. "You really think so?" he asked shyly, smoothing down the skirt. "Absolutely," Emma insisted. In fact, a sly grin spread across her face. "I have an idea." An hour later, Jake found himself being ushered out the front door, now clad in a flowery sundress with a matching ribbon in his hair. His cousins had insisted on the full treatment, painting his nails a soft pink, even adding a touch of lip gloss. "Where are we going?" he asked nervously, tottering slightly in the low heels they'd convinced him to wear. "To meet up with some friends in town," Lily explained. "Don't worry, they'll love you!" Jake's stomach churned with anxiety as they approached a group of teenage girls gathered outside the local ice cream parlor. What if someone recognized him? What if they laughed or were disgusted? But to his surprise, the girls greeted him warmly, cooing over his outfit and asking where he'd gotten such cute shoes. Jake found himself swept up in their chatter, giggling along as they shared gossip and swapped makeup tips. As the afternoon wore on, Jake felt himself relaxing, slipping more easily into this new role. He'd always felt awkward and out of place around guys his age, but here he felt like he belonged. The group decided to head down to the lake for a swim. Jake hesitated, but Emma produced a spare bathing suit from her bag with a wink. "Don't worry, I came prepared," she whispered. "Can't have you missing out on the fun." Jake changed in a secluded spot behind some trees, marveling at how natural it felt to slip on the ruffly two-piece. He emerged shyly, half expecting shocked stares or cruel laughter. Instead, one of the girls, Sarah? Samantha? Grabbed his hand with a bright smile. "Come on, last one in the water's a rotten egg." They splashed and played in the cool water, shrieking with laughter as they dunked each other and had chicken fights. Jake found himself perched atop Lily's shoulders, giggling uncontrollably as they battled against Emma and her friend. For the first time in years, Jake felt truly carefree. The constant anxiety that usually gnawed at him had faded away, replaced by a sense of joy and belonging he'd never experienced before. As the sun began to set, casting golden light across the rippling water, the girls sprawled out on beach towels to dry off. Jake lay between Lily and Emma, basking in the warmth of the fading sunlight and the easy camaraderie of his new friends. "This was so much fun," he murmured, a contented smile playing across his lips. "Thank you guys for including me." Emma propped herself up on one elbow, regarding him with a knowing look. "You really enjoyed yourself today, didn't you?" Jake nodded, feeling a faint blush creep across his cheeks. "Yeah, I did. More than I expected to, honestly." Lily reached over to squeeze his hand. "You know, you don't have to go back to being a boy if you don't want to. You could stay like this. Be one of us." Jake's heart skipped a beat at her words. Stay like this. The thought sent a shiver of excitement through him, followed quickly by a wave of confusion and fear. I don't know," he stammered. "I mean, I'm not really a girl. This was just for fun, right?" Emma sat up, fixing him with a serious look. "Jake, I've seen how natural this feels for you. The way you move, the way you laugh. It's like you're finally comfortable in your own skin. There's nothing wrong with exploring that." Jake fell silent, his mind whirling. Could they be right? Had he finally found where he belonged? The walk home was a quiet one, each lost in their own thoughts. As they approached the farmhouse, Aunt Sarah called out from the porch. "There you are! I was starting to worry. Did you girls have a nice day out?" Her eyes fell on Jake and widened slightly in surprise. "Well now, don't you look lovely? Those clothes suit you, sweetheart." Jake ducked his head, suddenly self-conscious again. "Thanks, Aunt Sarah. We had a really nice time." She ushered them inside, clucking about getting them fed and making sure Jake hadn't gotten sunburned. As the girls headed upstairs to change, Sarah pulled Jake aside with a gentle touch on his arm. "Jake, honey, can we talk for a moment?" He nodded nervously, following her into the living room. Sarah patted the spot next to her on the worn floral sofa. "I couldn't help but notice how happy you seemed today," she began softly. "More relaxed than I think I've ever seen you. Is there something you'd like to talk about?" Jake's throat felt tight, his palms sweating as he struggled to find the words. I don't know," he whispered. "Everything feels so confusing right now." Sarah wrapped an arm around his shoulders, pulling him close. "Oh, sweetheart, that's okay. These things take time to figure out. But I want you to know that no matter what, you're loved and accepted here. Whether you're my nephew or my niece, you'll always have a home with us." Tears welled up in Jake's eyes, spilling over before he could stop them. All the emotions he'd been holding back came rushing to the surface. Fear, confusion, but also a profound sense of relief. I think I might want to be a girl," he choked out between sobs. "Is that crazy? Am I crazy?" Sarah hugged him tighter, stroking his hair soothingly. "No, honey, you're not crazy at all. These feelings are more common than you might think, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with exploring your identity." Jake buried his face in her shoulder, letting out years of pent-up confusion and pain. When he finally pulled back, hiccuping slightly, Sarah cupped his face in her hands. "Listen to me, Jake. You have your whole life ahead of you to figure things out. There's no rush, no pressure. We'll support you no matter what. For now, why don't you just focus on enjoying your summer? Be whoever makes you happiest." Jake nodded, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. Thanks, Aunt Sarah. I think I'd like to keep dressing like this, if that's okay, at least while I'm here. Sarah smiled warmly. Of course it is, sweetheart. Now, why don't you go get cleaned up for dinner? I'm making your favorite chicken pot pie. As Jake headed upstairs, he felt lighter than he had in years. The future was still uncertain, full of questions he didn't have answers to yet. But for now, he had a safe place to explore, to discover who he truly was. And that was enough. The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of new experiences. Jake, who had started going by Jackie among his new friends, threw himself wholeheartedly into life as a girl. Each day brought fresh discoveries, moments of joy mixed with occasional pangs of doubt and fear. There was the first time he shaved his legs, giggling with his cousins as they taught him how to avoid nicks and cuts. The thrill of painting his toenails a brilliant turquoise that peeked out from strappy sandals. Learning to walk in heels without wobbling, practicing his runway strut down the upstairs hallway until he collapsed in fits of laughter. But it wasn't all just fashion and beauty routines. Jackie found himself opening up emotionally in ways he never had before. Late-night gossip sessions with the girls turned into deep conversations about hopes, fears, and insecurities. He shared things he'd never dared voice aloud before, finding acceptance and understanding in return. One particularly memorable afternoon found Jackie sprawled on a picnic blanket in the meadow behind the farmhouse, surrounded by a group of local girls. They were weaving daisy chains and swapping stories about first crushes and awkward school dances. What about you, Jackie? Piped up a redhead named Zoe. Any cute boys catch your eye back in the city? Jackie felt his cheeks flush hot. Oh, not really, he stammered. I guess I never really thought about it much. Emma nudged him playfully. Come on, there must have been someone. What about that lifeguard at the pool last weekend? I saw you checking him out. Jackie's blush deepened as the other girls erupted in giggles and knowing looks. Had he been staring? He hadn't even realized. I don't know, he mumbled, twirling a strand of hair nervously around his finger. It's all so confusing. I mean, I like boys, I think, but I've never really... He trailed off, unsure how to explain the complex tangle of emotions roiling inside him. Lily reached over to squeeze his hand reassuringly. Hey, it's okay. There's no rush to figure everything out. And liking boys doesn't make you any less of a girl, you know? Jackie looked up, meeting her understanding gaze. Really? Of course, Zoe chimed in. Some girls like boys, some like girls, some like both or neither. It's all normal. Jackie felt a wave of relief wash over him at his friend's easy acceptance. He'd been so worried about fitting in, about doing everything right as a girl. But maybe there wasn't just one way to be a girl after all. Thanks, you guys, he said softly. I guess I'm still figuring a lot of things out. Aren't we all? Emma laughed, flopping back onto the blanket. That's what being a teenager is all about, right? The conversation drifted to other topics, upcoming school dances, the latest town gossip, plans for the rest of the summer. Jackie found himself relaxing, joining in the chatter more easily than he ever had before. As the afternoon wore on, clouds began to gather on the horizon. A cool breeze rustled through the tall grass, bringing with it the scent of impending rain. We should probably head back, Lily said, eyeing the darkening sky. Looks like a storm's rolling in. The girls gathered up their things, shaking out blankets and collecting scattered flower crowns. Jackie helped Emma fold up the large quilt they'd been sitting on, his movements now easy and natural in the flowy sundress he wore. They made it back to the farmhouse just as the first fat raindrops began to fall. Aunt Sarah greeted them at the door, ushering them inside with a worried cluck. Just in time, she said, peering out at the rapidly darkening sky. Looks like it might be a big one. Why don't you girls go get changed into some dry clothes? I'll make some hot chocolate. Jackie followed Emma and Lily upstairs, shivering slightly as the air conditioning hit his rain-dampened skin. In Emma's room, the girls began rifling through drawers for comfortable loungewear. "Here," Emma said, tossing Jackie a pair of soft pajama shorts and a matching camisole. "These should fit you." Jackie caught the clothes, hesitating for a moment. He'd grown used to wearing dresses and skirts, but pajamas felt different somehow, more intimate. Lily must have sensed his uncertainty. "We can leave if you want privacy," she offered gently. Jackie shook his head. "No, it's okay. We're all girls here, right?" The words felt strange on his tongue, but also thrilling. He was one of them now. He changed quickly, marveling at how natural it felt to slip on the silky camisole. The shorts were a perfect fit, showing off legs that were now smooth and hairless, thanks to his cousin's meticulous lessons in shaving. Downstairs, they found Aunt Sarah in the kitchen, stirring a pot of rich hot chocolate on the stove. Outside, the storm had picked up in earnest, rain lashing against the windows as thunder rumbled ominously. "Here you go, girls," Sarah said, passing out steaming mugs. "Why don't you curl up in the living room? I think there's a movie marathon on TV tonight." They settled onto the overstuffed couch, Jackie tucked comfortably between Emma and Lily. As the opening credits of a cheesy rom-com began to play, he felt a deep sense of contentment wash over him. This, being here, like this, felt more right than anything ever had before. The movie was predictably silly, full of outrageous misunderstandings and over-the-top romantic gestures. But Jackie found himself swept up in it, giggling along with the girls at the corny jokes and sighing dreamily at the passionate kisses. "Wouldn't it be amazing to be swept off your feet like that?" Lily sighed during a particularly romantic scene. "By who?" Emma teased. "That new guy working at the hardware store?" Lily blushed furiously, swatting at her sister with a throw pillow. "Shut up! I told you that in confidence." Jackie watched their playful bickering with amusement, but also a twinge of something else. Envy, longing. He tried to imagine himself in the heroine's place, being held and kissed by a handsome leading man. The thought sent a shiver through him, equal parts excitement and terror. As the credits rolled on the first movie, Emma stretched and yawned. "I'm gonna grab some snacks. Anyone want anything?" "Ooh, see if there's any of that caramel popcorn left," Lily called after her retreating form. Jackie started to stand up. "I can help." "No, you stay put," Lily insisted, pulling him back down onto the couch. "I wanted to talk to you anyway." Jackie felt a flutter of nerves in his stomach. "Oh, about what?" Lily tucked her legs up under her, turning to face Jackie fully. Her expression was unusually serious. I wanted to make sure you're really okay with all of this. The clothes, the makeup, hanging out with us and the other girls. I know Emma and I kind of pushed you into it at first, and I'd feel terrible if you were just going along with it to make us happy." Jackie blinked, taken aback by her concern. He was quiet for a long moment, trying to sort through the tangle of emotions her words had stirred up. He began hesitantly. "I don't think I realized how much I needed this until it happened. Does that make sense? It's like, for the first time in my life, everything just feels right. I'm not anxious or uncomfortable in my own skin anymore." He paused, twisting a lock of hair around his finger, a nervous habit he'd picked up over the past few weeks. "But sometimes I get scared," he admitted in a small voice. "What if this is just a phase? What if I go back home and everything goes back to how it was before? I don't know if I could handle that." Lily reached out, taking his hand and giving it a reassuring squeeze. "Oh, Jackie, I can't promise that everything will be easy, but I know one thing for sure. You're not alone in this. No matter what happens, Emma and I will always be here for you. And Aunt Sarah, too. You know she adores you." Jackie felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. He blinked them back, managing a watery smile. "Thanks, Lily. That means more than you know." Emma chose that moment to return, arms laden with snacks. "What'd I miss?" she asked, taking in their serious expressions. "Nothing. Jackie said quickly, wiping at his eyes. Just girl talk. Emma raised an eyebrow but didn't press the issue. She dumped the snacks onto the coffee table and plopped back down onto the couch. All right, what should we watch next? I'm thinking something with explosions to balance out all that mushy stuff. As they debated movie choices, Jackie felt a warm glow of contentment settle over him. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew he had people in his corner. For now, that was enough. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.